The wild and lonely Fastnet, so stately and so brave, so true an ocean sentinel to those upon the wave. It cheers the storm-tossed mariner when weary from the fight. How joyously he hears the shout, ahoy, the Fastnet light. The Fastnet among the breakers white. The Fastnet, the good old Fastnet light. And when the weary fisherman, in darkness and in fear, trying to find the harbour and cannot see Cape clear, drenched by the foaming waters whose sprays have dimmed his sight, and almost verging on despair, he sees the Fastnet light. It changes grief and sorrow to joy and glad delight. The Fastnet, the good old Fastnet light. It points him out the harbour and leads him o'er the bay, in the midnight and the storm when wild winds have their way. It saves him from great danger and from the awful fright of drowning on a sunken reef, the good old Fastnet light. Oh, 'tis a ray from heaven upon the breakers white, the Fastnet, the good old Fastnet light. A noble ship is steaming across the ocean's foam. A wanderer is returning to Ireland and his home. It pierces to his inmost heart, the shout rings through the night, when the lookout from the high foretop cries out, the Fastnet light. The visions of his dreaming at last have come in sight. The Fastnet, the good old Fastnet light.
To cows, the Fastnet Rock, the Fastnet Race. It barely needs any introduction at all, does it? Welcome to Cows, where summer has arrived for a few minutes, let's hope. Good afternoon, I'm Matthew Sheehan, and tomorrow sees the start of one of the most famous races in the world, the Rolex Fastnet Race. For many, it's the focal point of their season, but as we know, this year in particular, just getting to this point has been really, really tough. But thanks to the determined effort of the organisation and indeed the belief and support of the competitors, we're back, and it's big. This is the 49th edition of the race, with 347 boats due to start here tomorrow, and that's more than 3,000 sailors. But this year's also about change, with the finish now in Cherbourg. So there's plenty to talk about. And to kick that off, who better a person to talk to than James Neville. James is the Commodore of the Royal Ocean Racing Club. James,
thank you, Matthew.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a difficult 18 months, hasn't it?
Well, no, it's not. It's not been too bad. Obviously the COVID stuff has been a bit more of a challenge, but I think we've seen our way through to the Fastnet with the finish in Cherbourg, and we're all very excited about that.
And the recent announcement from the UK government, that must have been quite a good news, really.
Yeah, that's terrific news. I think it was quite well signposted, but that means that the majority of boats should now be able to stop in Cherbourg and enjoy the hospitality when the boats finish and get there.
That's good news. Now, tell us a bit about your boat, because you're competing as well. So tell us about your boat.
So, yeah, my boat is Eno XXX. It's a HH42. We normally race with the fast 40s. But we also enjoy doing the offshore races with Rourke, and this is the third time we've done the Fastnet in this boat. So we've done 3 full seasons of RRC racing.
Have you got a particular set of conditions that you like? Probably not upwind for the next 3 days.
Well, no, we're fine with the upwind, and definitely looking forward to the first 24 hours. But we really want to be able to stretch our legs in the Irish Sea and get the reaching sails out.
And will you be stopping in Cherbourg, or are you coming straight back?
Yeah, no, definitely going to be stopping in Cherbourg, and I have to be there for the prize giving as well. So looking forward to the celebrations there.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you, Matt.
On the other side of the channel, Eric de Turckheim is the Vice Commodore of the Royal Ocean Racing Club, and he's also competing in his boat Teasing Machine, which many people will be familiar with. I spoke to him a few days ago, and I started by asking him whether he was surprised at the turnout for this year.
No, I'm not surprised because the Fastnet race is not only historically a race where an extraordinary race for any sailor. They always dreamt of doing the Fastnet at least once. So I'm not surprised at all. You see a lot of boats which on the Fastnet year do the qualification and participate to the Fastnet, and they will do that essentially on a Fastnet year. When you see the number of participants to the Hawk races pre-Fastnet, we have a significant higher number in all the races in a Fastnet year.
The finish is in Cherbourg this time for the first time. Do you think that that's helped to raise awareness for the race in France?
Definitely. I think definitely there will be a big cover, press cover, television cover, radio cover. So there will be certainly it will certainly appeal to the public, and even I'm based in Cherbourg at the moment because that's the only way we can't land in England. So and you've got some advertising. It's in 8 days or 10 days, I can't remember the number of days. Fastnet is arriving in Cherbourg. So you have already quite a lot of animation around the arrival of the Fastnet race in Cherbourg.
It makes it quite a bigger race, doesn't it, in many ways? When you describe it like that and the days that you then have to work back, it's quite different, not just at the finish, but it's quite different at the start as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, overall, even if the race is just 3 days, overall it's probably 8 days between the start of the preparation to the finish line. So it's a significant commitment for everybody on the crew.
Has grown in popularity over the years is actually the double-handed fleet, and in that fleet is Dee Caffari. Now, Dee Caffari, who joins us now on the stage, is best known probably for her round-the-world exploits. She was the first woman to sail around the world in either direction. She sailed around 6 times. She's the only woman to have sailed 3 times around alone, and the list goes on and on, Dee. But first of all, I'll start with you, Dee. This year's changed, isn't it? Now you've changed gear. You're on a boat that's considerably smaller than you normally sail. Why?
Well, I'm asking myself the same question given the forecast. Since 2001 was my very first Fastnet race, and I've only missed one in that whole time. And here I am, race number 9, on the smallest boat I've ever raced on. I thought as you got older you were meant to get bigger boats, but now I'm here on a 33-footer with just James and I'm absolutely loving the double-handed fleet and the racing.
I should say you're here with James Farida. The two of you have been sailing together this season. James, give us a sense of what you've been up to, because you've been pretty busy, haven't you, in the offshore series?
Yeah, so we started sailing together last season. Last season was a little bit difficult with COVID, but we managed to get a lot of racing done, and it was a really good thing for our class. We saw massive growth, and then this year the build-up has been towards this race, and so yeah, we've been busy with the Rolex season. And really excited to line up with the other UK boats and the French boats for this race.
And it's been really tough competition, isn't it, Dee? It's been close, isn't it? It's probably been among the most closely fought of all of the classes.
Definitely. You make a single mistake and the competitors are there to absolutely capitalise on your mistake. And there is no room for error. And there's no kind of form guide either. You can't call it. And so it really is about the boat that's going to make the least mistakes. And it's just really lovely to be in such an incredibly competitive class with such a wide range of sailors involved in it as well. So James is keeping me young, but somehow I haven't got it right. He sits at the back of the bus and I'm at the front. I'm not sure what's going on.
And it's a very competitive, it's a big fleet as well. One of the things that's, because you've been documenting your progress, both of you, through this season, one of the things that comes across quite strongly in that is that basically you don't get any sleep in the course of 2 or 3 days. But the Fastnet's going to be different, isn't it? You've got to get some sleep. How does that change the game?
You've got to manage yourself because you can't afford to make mistakes. You've got to have the ability to make a really clear decision day 3 as you do day 1. So you can't go all out and hit a wall and then just struggle and hang on to the end, because the competitors won't let you get away with it. So you've got to manage it yourself, you've got to manage each other and manage the boat. And it's going to be a tough initial start out of the race tomorrow. And so we need to be ready for that and make sure we're pushing just as hard as we close the coastline of Cherbourg as we are as we leave the Solent tomorrow.
Doesn't sound too difficult, James?
Yeah, I mean, especially given the forecast, it's going to be really important that we manage ourselves, particularly in that first 24 hours. So that, as Dee says, later on in the race we can make really good decisions, particularly if we are going to see this shutdown happen when we approach Cherbourg.
I think it's easier. I'm off watch for day 1. And I'll come on watch day 2.
I was going to ask you about that, but that's she's a bit of a bully sometimes. Great. Well, we wish you all the best. It's been great watching you so far. I can't wait to see how you do in this race. But good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot. When it comes to short-handed sailing and keeping that theme, there's one team that delivered a performance back in 2013 that we're still talking about, and that was Alexis and his father Pascal Loison, who won the double-handed class in the Fastnet, but they also won the Fastnet overall, and that turned. Sorry about that. That turned a lot of heads. I spoke to Alexis a few days ago online, and started by asking him how special that win was for them.
And when we take the start of the race, we dream to win the 200 class on maybe the IRC 3, but win the overall for us is incredible. So at the finish time, when we see our name first at the big list, incredible. So a very good memory, and I maybe another time for a second success.
Yes, and you won. Of course, you won the 2019 Fastnet race, Rolex Fastnet race in the double-handed class. What is? I mean, the obvious question is, what is the secret to success then?
I don't know. I think a part of the success is to have a good boat on the, a cat boat or all-purpose boat, because the Fastnet is a long race, and you can have a lot of different conditions with weather, and so, for example, I take the race with a GPK, and the best secret of GPK is to have a good boat in what you want for condition.
And the boat that you'll be sailing this year, tell me about the boat.
For the Fastnet?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's the same boat like 2 years ago when we won with Jean-Pierre Calbert. The name is Léon. It's the last design of the GPK composite. A very good boat to when there is a reaching or downwind condition.
We've been talking to people who are stacked full of offshore experience, but not everybody that is doing the Fastnet comes to it with that level of experience. In fact, some are doing it for the first time. And I'm delighted to be joined by Zoe Donano over here. Thank you very much for joining us. First of all, slightly embarrassing question, but I have to ask, how old are you?
12.
12. That's pretty impressive. I guess you must be the youngest competitor in the Fastnet. Yeah. What are you sailing?
I'm sailing on Challenger 2, a 72-foot yacht, a tall ships boat, and I'm fundraising for them as well.
Tell us a bit about the fundraising. What's that part of?
Well, I'm hoping to raise £10,000 to help 12 disadvantaged young children have an experience in sailing with tall ships.
And so, how did you get involved in offshore sailing?
Well, my father has always been a keen sailor, and he did a lot of it when I was younger. And well, before I was a lot more of a dinghy sailor, but he thought that it would be a good opportunity as a family and a good experience to do the Fastnet.
So, and you're excited?
Yeah, very.
And you would have had to have done some of the training during this season, I guess. You've done
Yes.
some of the offshore races
Yeah.
so far. What have you done so far?
Well, we've done 2 qualifying races. We did one of a channel race and another one, and I don't remember the name.
And how did you find that? Was it what stuck out? What was the hardest part of that, do you think?
Probably waking up very early in the morning and trying to get to sleep when people are doing stuff on the boat and the tacking and the everything.
But you obviously liked it enough to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, fantastic to hear you go. I'm sure you'll have a fantastic time. It's a brilliant race. And
Yes.
good luck to you. And good luck with the fundraising.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now, as we mentioned earlier on, just at the beginning, the finish for the first time in the history of the race will be in Cherbourg. Now, someone who knows both sides of the channel extremely well is solo sailor Sam Davies, and she's famous on both sides of the channel. And she's going to be sailing her Mocha 60 double-handed, Initiatives Cur. And I spoke to her the other day about how much of an impact she thought that Cherbourg would have on this race.
Well, it's definitely going to help us because we're going to be able to get off and have a beer at the end of the race. And if it had been a finish in Plymouth this year, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I'm not sure whether I said if we finish on the podium, we'll bring the boat in and celebrate. But I think we might have a plan to stop anyway for a night in Cherbourg. And but yeah, definitely all the French. I think a lot of the French teams will definitely make the most of finishing in Cherbourg to stop and pit stop and have a beer and a steak frites and celebrate the end of the race that way. So yeah, shame for I guess there'll probably be some Brits that do that. The Fastnet race, and that's why it's such a great. Well, apart from the fact I'm British and I love that race, and I've done it since I was 19 years old. It's a great race as well because we're sailing around the coast heading towards the weather systems that are coming towards us generally. So it means that we're guaranteed to have a lot of different conditions, and that's what makes it so exciting and interesting. And you're never going to be bored in a Fastnet race, and you're always going to finish completely knackered because there's so many sail changes. But I think because of that, and because it's pretty much sure not to have reaching or foiling conditions for the whole of the race, then that will that should open it up to be more of an equal competition. And I think we saw 2 years ago we all hooned across the Irish Sea both ways, but at the end of the day, I think what made a big difference was more how we sailed the light stuff at the beginning and how everybody spinnaker ran into the finish in Plymouth. So I think it's great because hopefully we'll see at some point during the race the potential for the foiling boats and the new ones, and especially for us on Initiative Care to have fun and try and send it as fast as a new boat. So it'll be great to see moments when those boats will just light up and burn off, but there's usually opportunities for everyone to get back together again.
This year has seen a strong participation in Rolex races. It always is in the Fastnet races. People build towards what for many is the big one. But among those who are taking part is our next guest, Tom Channing. Tom, welcome. Good to see you. First of all, what are you sailing?
I'm sailing on Sunrise, which is a JPK 1180 IRC2.
Now, you have had a very good season so far, haven't you? You're actually leading the points table overall, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we're just leading overall. And I think we're leading Class 2 by quite a small margin, depending on how the discards all
work out as well.
What kind of a season's it been so far?
I mean, it's so far been a very light year. So, considering we're a wide double ruddered boat with a short rig, I'm quite surprised that we're doing as well as we are. But yeah, it's been very different to the forecast we've got for tomorrow. That's for sure.
Yeah. Will that play more? I mean, we appear to have an awful lot more breeze for the race going forwards. Is that better for you?
Yeah, we don't mind. We don't mind a bit more breeze. We just don't really remember the last time we sailed in it. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. In theory, if we're slightly cracked sheets on the way back from the rock and plenty of breeze, we should be pretty happy.
So how important is this race? By the sounds of it, with a narrow points margin, it is pretty important.
Yeah, very big race for us. We're lucky to have some very good competitors. There's another boat almost identical to us, Dawn Treader, who are constantly nipping at our heels. They're sort of new to Rourke racing, but they seem to be getting alarmingly good. So it's good to have some motivation.
Now, you're the navigator, and we've been talking about the finish being in Cherbourg. It makes the course a little bit longer, 10-15% longer, but how much does that change the game tactically, do you think?
And we did a few little weather studies on it this year, but normally it would extend the downwind, which actually the downwind VMG isn't really playing to our strengths. But this year it does look like it probably turns that into a bit more of a reach from the Scillies towards Cherbourg, where it's eventually going to shut down. So it's going to be interesting trying to make that decision as to which side of that TSS you go into Cherbourg. In theory, south of it is quite a lot shorter, but so far everything I've seen is kind of trying to keep you north in a bit more pressure and avoiding the shutdown that I think Dee mentioned earlier.
And when you talk about the TSS, you're talking about that exclusion, that shipping exclusion zone. This is like a box in the middle of the
Yeah,
boat.
there's this giant box right between where we round the Scillies and then end up at the finish. So it's probably going to be a bit of a pinch point and a decision. And if something wacky happens, then you could see boats that have made what maybe looks like an off the wall decision go quite well, I think.
And also that area is well known for strong tides as well, isn't it? How much does that play into it?
Yeah, so if we end up there with, you can get more tide than how fast the boat can go through near Alderney. So if you end up down there with no breeze, then you don't have a lot of choices. You just go where the channel takes you. So we need a bit of a game plan when we get there.
Well, no pressure on you, obviously, as navigator. I hope you're not planning to get much sleep.
I think I might try and get some sleep in early later on. Luckily, we've got a really good gang, and Susie Peters, who sails with us, sort of shares some of the nav with me as well. Lets me have the occasional nap, so it should be fine.
Good. Well, good luck in the race, and good luck in your charge on the points championship, the offshore point championship.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Tom. Another popular class in the Rolex Fastnet, and one that's been growing over the years, is the Class 40. And this is a class that is notorious for the development and the change in the design of the boats and the rapid acceleration of the performance of these boats. Now, one of those competitors is Luke Berry, who's defending his Class 40 title this year aboard La Motte Module Création. And I spoke to him again online a few days ago about the new generation of boats and how the bar was now raised even higher. And I started by asking him what could be in store this time around.
I find it a very interesting course because it's not, well, okay, it can up and down to the Fastnet can be a sort of straight line reach. But before and after that, there's lots of tactical and different passages where even the slower boats, so to say, can come back.
What's your goal? Do you have a particular target in mind?
No, well, our goal is to try and at least be up on the podium and, if possible, win. Like every race we do. The last race we went to the Azores and back, we managed to finish for 5th, which was quite good for our boat. The race before that was the Normandy Channel race, which is actually quite close to the Fastnet course, because we go around the Isle of Wight, we go up to Tuscar to Fastnet, and we finish in Caen. Here we're going to finish in Cherbourg, and there we came 2nd. So I think there's definitely room for a slightly older boat like ours to be up the top there.
Is there a particular sort of set of weather conditions that what would be your optimum weather conditions for the Fastnet race?
For me, it would be up, if we could have sort of up and downwind sailing, sort of VMG, beating and running. Our boat is quite fast in those conditions. Reaching, we're all right until 12, 13 knots, but as soon as you get anything above 15, the new boats are just...
Fastnet Race is a family affair, and my next guest is indeed two families. We've got Damien Smith and his daughter Alexandra, along with Mark Denton at the end and his son Freddie, and they're all sailing together. First, Damien, you're the owner. First of all, tell us about the boat.
We're racing on a boat called Simple. She's an XP44. This is the second Fastnet that we've done since I've owned Simples, mostly found combining offshore racing and performance 40 in the Solents. But we're one of the longest but heaviest boats in that class. So we're sort of looking forward to the conditions tomorrow. It gives us an opportunity upwind to stretch our legs before the slightly lighter boats come past us on the way back.
Well, we just think they haven't got ovens on board. So you've got another advantage there.
Ovens, well, we don't have microwave, but your stereo, yeah, exactly.
Is this the first time that you've sailed with so many friends and family, or is that how you normally sail?
I've built a crew over the last 5 years of people that I've either coached sailing as youth and met through family friends, and so we really try and keep it as a keen youngsters event with experience, Mark, and on board, and give opportunity to friends and family. So whether it's through the sailing club, through dinghy, or just friends that we've met on the way.
Mm. So, Alexandra, how long have you been offshore sailing?
Not long. I did my first offshore race this year, which was a good experience because my dad kind of mentioned doing the Fastnet race to me, and I thought, why not? It's a really good experience, something I've never done before. So yeah, it's very new to me.
And what have you found? What's really stood out so far in the offshore racing that you've done? What do you enjoy the most about it?
I think the whole thing is just so different, doing the overnight sailing as well as during the day, managing sleep, just the whole experience is so different to anything I've done before in sailing. So.
Excellent. Mark, I'll just jump to you. As a former BT Global Challenge skipper, offshore sailing's your bag and very much your thing. Tell us a bit about what's the big appeal of the Fastnet?
Yeah, so we love our offshore, and this forecast is pretty similar to what we used to experience in the Global Challenge. So hopefully we can remember how to handle some of that. It was a good few years ago now, but the Fastnet is a real particular race. It's intense. It's only 3 or 4 days long. A race of that length, you don't really have time to get into it. Your body to adjust to it. So it's a real challenge. Mentally, physically, tactically. I mean, it's a coastal race. It's just a really demanding race. And as Dee was saying earlier on, just to stay focused and keep your energy up, all the way to the end is a really, really big challenge. Yeah.
Freddie, I hope he hasn't put you off by saying that.
No, he really hasn't. I'm really looking forward to it.
Are you? What's drawn you to it? Why do you want to do it?
I guess it's just a kind of lifelong dream, really. We always used to come out and watch the starts when I was really young, and I always used to almost get a bit jealous when all the boats would be going off and we'd have to go back and stay on shore. And always been really interested in the BT Global Challenge. Obviously I was born way after it happened, but still seeing the photos and hearing the stories and things just really draw me to it. Yeah.
Excellent. And how long have you been sailing offshore?
So this is my first season of proper offshore racing. I did a bit of inshore racing last year just to kind of get into it and learn the boat, but this is my first year of doing proper offshores and a full season, so it's a good year to start with Fastnet.
Yeah, excellent. Well done. I'm very envious. I wish I was coming too. Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
Well done.
Now, talking of big boats, well, I'm going to talk of big boats anyway. There are some big boats. You've probably seen one of them out here already. Oh, I beg your pardon. I've jumped ahead. Hello, George. Welcome. Hello there. How are you doing? Do come up. Oh, I'm very well. Yeah. For most people, the Fastnet race will last 3 or 4 days, or even a week. But for some of them, the Fastnet is a high-speed sprint. And George, David, as the owner of Rambler 88, it is a sprint for you, isn't it, this race?
Yeah, we hope it is.
Well, you took line honours twice in a row, didn't you? Before.
Yes.
Is that what your goal is again this time?
Has to be. I mean, this is our sixth running of the Fastnet. First one was 2007, and we were second across the line to Leopard in 07, and we were second corrected against a Cookson 50. In 2011, we would have had the record, but the keel came off, which was an exciting event for a few hours. And then in 2017 and 2019, we got line honors, and so we'd like to do it again, although we have a big dog out there, Scorpios, brand new. We're both 1K designs, so the boats will have some similar characteristics, but they're about 30% bigger, maybe 40% bigger, 125 feet versus, say, 90 feet. So we'll see.
Well, one of the big advantages I guess you've got is that you've been sailing your boat for many years. You've done, I presume, thousands of miles in Rambler 88. How much does that count, actually knowing how hard you compress and the kind of performance you'll get out of it?
Brad?
Oh, the boat goes better every year, really. So that George makes a pretty big commitment in terms of new sails, and we've optimised the boat over its life. And so it's even today, the performance was a little bit better than we were expecting. So, but yeah, we're up against it, and I'm already a little bit disappointed in the race because I know it's going to get light at the end and we're going to stop somewhere. So yeah, I'm just going to put that out there now before.
Get your excuses in early, Brad.
Yeah, I'm just getting going for it.
Yeah. I should say this is Brad Butterworth, who I presume you're a tactician. Are you on board the boat and navigator?
No, navigator is Silvio Arrivabini. No, I just help out where I'm allowed.
How many Fastnets have you done?
I don't know. I can't remember. Too many.
Yeah. What are the kind of conditions that you need to excel, do you think? I mean, it looks like you're going to get quite a long upwind section. Does that concern you at all, or can you keep your foot down?
Well, we really don't know because we have, the race for us, this race, first of all, mid-sized boats typically win this race. Maybe not this time, but the 45-footers are the ones that win. So we're in it normally for line honors, which we had the last couple of outings. It's different this time because we're going to have a challenge with this 125-foot new boat, a lot of stability, 1K design, and so we'll see. I think the conditions, well, for one thing, we had done a lot of work in the last 3 years optimizing for light air performance because the problem with 1K boats is they have lots of wetted surface, and so they're draggy in light air. And we dropped the keel another meter to 7 meters, which took 1.5 tons out of the boat with the same riding moment. That was nice. And put a new mast in a couple of years ago with a lower center of gravity, and we have a pretty much full new inventory of sails for this race. So we'll see. I think where we might have the edge on, I don't know. It's too soon to tell. Ask me after the race.
I will, definitely. Well, it sounds like you've done an awful lot of work in getting ready for the Fastnet race. Always great to watch your performance around the course. Thank you very much indeed for coming to meet us, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Now, talking of big boats, and as George referred to there, the biggest boat in the Fastnet, biggest monohull, actually the biggest boat, is Scorpios. It's a brand new Club Swan 125. Those of you who are down in Cowes would have seen her. She just arrived. She was anchored just off Cowes Green just a little while yesterday, and she's been sailing around the Solent today, and quite a beast she is, an absolute monster. It's very early days for this boat. There's going to be a lot of attention focused on it. It's only just been launched this season and come down from the Baltic where she was built. So we don't really know how she's going to perform, but I spoke to her skipper, Fernando Echevarri, and asked him what his early feeling was about the performance of this boat.
We see the potential in light and medium winds is incredible. The boat is super powerful, is light and it's big. So and apart from that, the design is super good for that kind of conditions. We don't know yet in super strong breeze and the potential, let's say, to high speeds.
What would be the best? What would be your perfect conditions for the race?
Right now, I think we are. Let's say that we can sell the boat in a good mode in mediums and light winds. We didn't have enough time to test the boat in strong winds and wavy conditions. So I would like to have that kind of medium light conditions. We can sail. I believe that we can sail the boat very fast from 6 knots. We are already making 9 in upwinds, and we are making good speeds also in reaching and downwind. The thing is, we cannot say much yet because we have the navigators and all the technicians trying to understand what happened in this big altitude. We have a height of near 60 meters, and the upwards this main is creating, and the understanding of the wind on the head and in the mid parts of the sail, and also on the surface is something that is making us to squeeze our minds because it's super complex. Sometimes we were seeing 10 knots difference between the surface and the top. So that makes everything super complicated to understand. We feel that we have a very powerful boat in medium and light conditions.
Now, we had a little bit of trouble with the sound on that particular video. I hope you could hear it. In fact, down here, we got a little bit of trouble with the sound, so apologies for that. But just in case you missed it, Fernando talks about a 60-meter tall mast. I'll say that again in case you think I made a mistake. 60-meter tall mast with a difference in wind speed of 10 knots between the top and the bottom. I mean, that alone must surely make sail selection quite tricky. But when it comes to speed and big beasts, then one of the biggest boats on the track will be Gitana 17, one of the 3 32-meter ultimes that are taking part this year. And I talked to her skipper, Charles Caudrelier, about just how quick a 32-meter ultime is. And here's a hint. Listen out for the numbers when he talks about them. In particular, his estimate of their average speed upwind.
It will be to start with southwest and finish with northwest will be perfect. Soft to go outside the Isle of Wight and then catch a front in just before the Fastnet or after the Fastnet and come back with the northwest. But our boats are very fast, even upwind. So if we can go straight line, even if it's upwind, we can reach 30 knots of average speed, so upwind, so 29. If it's not, full upwind, if you do a fast mode, you fly and then you reach 30, 31. So yeah, we just need more than 15 knots of wind, 16. Ideally, we'll be 17, 18 knots because the sea state is not big and we can go fast upwind and downwind in this condition. When you are 40 knots, you feel safe. I mean, under 35, you feel you are not fast enough. We can do it for sure in less than 24 hours, but we need to be a bit lucky because during this leg you change direction a lot, so you need to be lucky with the wind shift to be always in the good two-wind angle. Will be the same crew as usual, six guys on board, only 6. What is difficult is more about tactics. If you want to tack or jibe, it's very easy to tack and jibe with the Mod 70, and with Gitana you cannot do it. I mean, to drop a foils and tack, and you lost a lot. Even for jibing, when you start to drop, which will take a few seconds on a Mod 70, then you will lose 5 or 10 minutes to really do a perfect jibe.
So, for the avoidance of any doubt, he really did say these things, averaging 30 knots upwind, at 40 knots you feel safe, and a full crew of 6. Plus, the Rolex Fastnet Race could be possible in under 24 hours. That is incredible. And of course, it also means that catering is quite simple. Just pop along to your local petrol station, buy some sandwiches, and you're good to go. Can't wait to see how they get round and whether they do indeed do it in under 24 hours. So that wraps it up for this year's preview. Thanks to all our guests. Thanks for their comments. Good luck to everybody who's taking part. I really am desperately envious of all of you. The skipper's briefing is coming up next, along with the all-important weather briefing. Thanks to the guests once again. Good luck, safe sailing, and we'll see you in Cherbourg.
It is the world's biggest offshore race.
The Rolex Fastnet Race returns.
This is just one of the races you got to do.
Once you've done one, you want to do it again.
The rite of passage for all sailors.
The 49th edition of this biennial race, organised by the Royal Ocean Racing Club, will make its traditional start from the Royal Yacht Squadron, Cowes, on Sunday the 8th of August. A fleet of over 300 international yachts, including professionally crewed cutting-edge trimarans and Maxim monohulls, and an array of largely Corinthian classes, will head westward down the Solent, creating one of the most evocative sights in all of sailing.
More pressure coming, more pressure building here.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of Rolex's partnership with this epic 600 nautical mile contest, which is an integral part of the Swiss watchmakers' long-standing association with yachting. Landmarks en route include the Needles, Portland Bill, Land's End and the Scillies.
That's looking quite nice, mate. Maybe 20 knots.
Sailors will face down the elements across the Celtic Sea to the Fastnet Rock off the southern tip of Ireland, and one of the most iconic rounding points in sailing.
It has its very dangerous moments.
We'll probably get 4 or 5 hours sleep in that for 60 hours.
I think I can cry if I finish it all.
However, for 2021, there will be an historic change of race course. For the first time ever, the finish will be in France, in Cherbourg on Cotentin. The overall victor on IRC handicap not only receives the Fastnet Challenge Cup, but a guaranteed place in sailing legend. The scale of the challenge is immense and demands flawless preparation, perfect teamwork, and unrelenting mental and physical endurance.
Truly the most difficult race in the world to win.
Qualities that create a tangible sense of belonging and community. It is a competition which inspires and unites. With nearly a century of history, the Rolex Fastnet is revered across the sporting world.
You want to be able to say, I finished a Rolex Fastnet race.